Hi everyone, my name is Lindsay Clark and I am Reconditioning Manager at CFB Kingston. Today we're going to do a workshop on thoracic spine or T-spine mobility. We're going to start off by identifying where our T-spine is and why we need it to be moving well or to be a mobile joint. We'll define the difference between stability and mobility. We'll do a quick self-screen that you can follow along with at home or wherever you might be watching today. And it's just going to give you an idea if the thoracic spine might be somewhere that you have some restricted movement, and it's going to give a right versus left. So it's a sided test that you can quickly do on your own. And then we're also going to go through some exercises that you can add into your daily workout or just your daily routine in order to improve your thoracic spine or T-spine mobility if you've identified that as somewhere where you might have some restricted movements. Let's start by identifying where your thoracic spine or T-spine is. The T-spine is the middle part of the back, between the neck and the low back. So it consists of the 12 middle vertebrae that connect to the rib cage. The thoracic spine is meant to move, it's meant to be mobile. We can flex, we can extend, and we can rotate. When the thoracic spine is moving well, it'll move through all of those, flexion, extension, and rotation, and well. When the T-spine is not moving as well as it should, we may experience aches and pains. We may also experience some challenges with certain exercises at the gym. We'll get into that in more detail as we move a little bit further along in the workshop. But to start, I just want to first look at the difference between mobility and stability. So let's identify what the differences are. Mobility is the ability of a joint to move through its full range of motion, whereas stability is the ability of a joint to resist motion. If we look through the body following what's called the joint by joint approach, we can see that some joints are meant to be mobile, whereas others are meant to be more stable. Starting down at the ankle, you can see that the ankle moves well. Point our toes, draw our toes up, we can rotate. It's a mobile joint. The knee, yes, the knee can move. We can extend the knee, flex the knee, but that's about it. We don't want a whole lot of rotating at our knee. It's a stable joint. Our hip, we've got more movement here. So flexion, extension, we can move away from the body, abduction towards the body, adduction, can rotate. It's a mobile joint. Our lumbar spine or low back, stable joint, not meant for a whole lot of movement. Thoracic spine, mobile joint. As we just talked about, flexion, extension, rotation. Scapula, shoulder blade area, stable, not meant for a whole lot of movement, whereas the shoulder, flexion, extension, away from the body, towards the body, rotation, lots of movement, mobile joint. Elbow, similar to the knee, flex, extend, but not meant for too much more than that, stable joint. Wrist, mobile, lots of movement. So what you might have noticed while me going through the different joints in the body is that we see them alternating between mobility and stability. So we've got the ankle for mobility, knee, stability, mobility, stability, mobility, stability, mobility, stability, mobility. So we see that alternating pattern. What we also learn from looking at the joint by joint approach is how interconnected the joints are above or below. So oftentimes when we're experiencing pain, in a certain point of the body. So for example, we're experiencing pain in our low back. One of the things that we need to do is look at the joint above and below. So we know that the lumbar spine or the lower back is meant to be a stable joint, not meant for a lot of movement. If we look above or below and we see that the hip or the thoracic spine are not moving as well as they should, some of that compensation could then be coming from the low back, which is not really meant for those shear forces, which could lead to pain. We'll get more into that as well as we move further along in the workshop. Before we get into our self-screen and exercises that we can do to improve our T-spine mobility, I just want to dive a little bit deeper into why we want our T-spine to move well and what that's going to help us with. So there are 4 different things that we'll quickly go through here. So the first thing, less low back pain. As I've already spoke to today, when our thoracic spine is not moving well, our lumbar spine or our low back can overcompensate for that. So this can, one, place our pelvis into an anterior tilt, and it can also place too much force and pressure on that low back. So when a stable joint, so a joint not meant to move a whole lot, is then placed in a position where it has to move because of lack of mobility elsewhere, over time, all of this force and pressure on that joint can lead to injuries, can lead to pain. So in order to keep our low back happy, let's keep our mid back and that thoracic area moving as well as it should. Second, potentially improvement from headaches and neck pain. Again, when our thoracic spine isn't moving well, it can make it challenging to stand up straight, and it can make it difficult to rotate properly. This can put our head and neck into a little bit of a forward position, which can, over time, lead to that neck pain and potentially even lead to headaches. So with a better moving T-spine, better posture, potentially improvement from neck pain or headaches. Third, better overhead movements. So this is all about getting into the position for the movement. So when our T-spine isn't moving well, it can be difficult to get into the proper position for efficient and for safe overhead lifts. Oftentimes what we see is overcompensating by arching too much at the back in order to get to that proper lifting position. Additionally, what we might see is a shoulder joint that overcompensates for a T-spine that isn't moving well, over time potentially leading to an overuse injury in that shoulder joint. Fourth thing, better squats. So I'm speaking here to a barbell back squat. So without proper mobility in the T-spine, it is difficult to get into proper lifting position again with the back squat. So we often will see the hands being placed too far apart because the T-spine isn't moving well and we're not able to get into that proper position. And this can, when our hands are too wide apart, it can be challenging for the legs to create as much force lifting the bar. Also, we can see that without the ability to open up at the chest, the weight can sometimes come too far forward, again, just making it a lot more challenging to lift the weight. So for safer and more efficient lifts at the gym, we also want to make sure that that T-spine is moving as well as it should. Getting into our active part of our workshop now. If you want to follow along, all you need is a foam roller and a resistance band, something light, nothing too heavy for this. The first thing we'll do is a quick self-screen that you can do yourself, just to give you an idea how well that T-spine is moving. And again, there's lots of other screens you can do. This is just one quick one that you can do on your own, and all you need is a foam roller. So it's called a rib grab, and all you're going to do is lie on your back. I'm placing the roller on the left side of my body. My right knee is up. It's touching the roller. The right hand is on the left rib. And all I'm trying to do here is get this right shoulder blade around as far as I can, seeing if I can get that shoulder blade to touch the ground without this hand coming off the ribs and without the knee lifting off the roller. And then you can repeat on the other side. So doing both sides here, right and left. So the roller's now on the right, my left knee is across, left hand on the right side of my body. Now I'm trying to draw that left shoulder blade down and around to the ground. So can I do that without this knee popping off and without this hand popping off? And so yes or no. You can just mark down on both sides. Can you get it there? Can you not? And you may find that you have a difference right versus left, and that's okay. Just mark that down. And then you can go through some of the exercises to help improve. And you'll see as we do go through them that some of the exercises are right and left side. So if you do happen to have one side that doesn't move as well as the other, you can always perform a few extra reps on the side that isn't moving as well. That might be a little bit tighter. The first exercise is done with the foam roller, and it's just an extension over the foam roller. So you're going to place the foam roller about the level of your shoulder blades, hips down, feet down, hands are at the side of the head, and then all we're doing here is extending over the roller. Before we do that, we want to make sure our core is nice and strong. So think of activating our core muscles, nice and strong. This is going to help prevent us from moving at the low back. So again, we want that mid back, thoracic spine area moving, extending over the roller, holding for a second or two at the bottom, and then coming back up. Just that flat back position. We want nice, slow and controlled movements here. Good. And we're gonna go for 8 reps. Want to make sure we're breathing through it as well. Just a few more. We're at 6. Allowing the chest to open a bit, the T-spine going through extension. And last one. Good. The next exercise is called quadruped extension rotation. So this is one of those exercises that is sided, so we have right versus left. So if we think back to that self screen, if you had one side that was tighter than the other, we might want to perform a couple of extra reps on our tighter side. So first, to get into the position, we're going to start on all fours. Wrists are under shoulders, knees are under hips, and then we're going to sit our butt all the way back down onto our heels. Getting down into this locked position locks that low back in place so the movement isn't coming from there. So I'm going to be rotating towards my right first. I'm going to have my left elbow and hand down to the mat, and then for the right hand you can either place it on your neck or on your back, whichever is more comfortable here. I'm going to choose to put it on my neck, and keeping the body as a unit, I'm going to rotate. So I'm going to start looking over my elbow, Keeping my gaze there, opening up as far as I can, holding for a second, and then coming back to the starting position. Opening up. Good. And we're gonna go for 5 reps total on either side. And 1 more. And then the same thing on the other side. So the right elbow and hand come down. Again, a hand on the neck, or you can place it behind your back. And we're gonna open as far as you can. Back down. Slow controlled movements here. And again, we really want to make sure that we're always breathing through them. And 1 more. And again, add in those extra reps if you found that one side was tighter than the other. The next exercise is an active thoracic extension. So all you need is a wall to get into the starting position. I'm going to be hinged over. We want to make sure the hips stay over the heels, hands against the wall. As we press into the wall, we're going to lower the chest, moving into that extension, holding for a second or 2 and then coming back up. Press into the wall, lower the chest. Making sure here that the hips stay over the heels, and this helps to ensure that that extension is coming from the thoracic spine and not coming from the lumbar spine. And we're just doing 5 reps here total. Good. So after working on some exercises to move the thoracic spine through flexion, extension, and rotation, we'll finish off with some muscle activation. So all you need is a light rubber band, and we're going to do a band pull apart. So to get into our starting position, we want our feet comfortable with kind of shoulder width apart. Arms are out straight here. All right. We want to maintain tension on that band, so we don't want it loose, but we also don't want too much tension that it's going to be too hard for us to pull apart. So from our starting position, slight bend in the knees. We're going to open up, pull back, and then back to that starting position. I'm going to pull, and back to the starting position. Good, I'm just going to do a few from the side as well. We want to keep the movement slow and controlled, maintaining tension on that band the whole time. So we don't want slack in the line there into that band. And we're doing 8 reps here total. And 1 more. Good. The next exercise is cat-cow. So if you've taken yoga before, you might recognize this exercise. The purpose of cat-cow is to allow the entire spine to move as a unit. So let's get into our starting position. Hands and knees, wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. Starting with a nice neutral spine. And then from here, as one unit, we're gonna start to round the back. So pushing the middle of the back up, dropping the head down. And then again, as one unit, moving the spine down. And through extension, bringing the gaze up, looking up. And then back to the rounded position. Good. breathing through this. So as we come into the extended position, we're taking an inhale. And through the rounded position, taking an exhale. I'm gonna go for 8 reps here total. And 1 rep consists of 1 rounded position and 1 extended position. And feel free to pause at the extended or the round for a bit of an extra stretch. Anywhere you feel you may want to or need to. And 1 more. All right, so just as a quick recap about our workshop today. So today you learned about thoracic spine mobility. We learned where our T-spine is. We learned the difference between mobility and stability. So again, mobility being the ability of a joint to move through its full range of motion, whereas stability was the ability of a joint to resist that movement or motion. We learned that our T-spine is meant to move. It's a mobile joint and it's meant to move well. And we also learned why we want it to learn well. So what's that going to help us with in our everyday lives and also in our lives at the gym, so during our workouts. So what's it going to help us with there? 4 things we went through: less low back pain, less potentially helping with headaches and neck pain, better overhead lifting, and better back squats. We then went into a quick self-screen that you're able to do to identify if your T-spine is an area you might be restricted, and it also was a left versus right test. So again, you may notice a difference right versus left, and then you just have to do your corrective exercises accordingly and maybe a couple of extra repetitions on the tighter side of your body. We went then into some exercises that we can do. So some corrective things that we can do to help improve the mobility in our T-spine. We did an extension over the foam roller. We then did a quadruped extension rotation, so working on the rotation of the T-spine. We did a wall activated thoracic extension. We then moved into cat-cow movement, so getting the entire spine to move as a unit. And then we finished off with some muscle activation by doing a band pull apart. So these corrective type movements can really be added in where you're able to. So a great spot to put them in would be at the beginning of your workout, so during your warm-up. But you could also do them during a cool down or do them in the evening when you're just kind of winding down at the end of the day. So you definitely have some flexibility there as to where you might want to add some of these movements into your kind of your daily routine and your daily lives. So I just want to say thank you for watching today. For more great workouts or fitness tips, check us out on social media at PSP Kingston. Thanks everyone. Have a great day. Bye.
PSP Kingston, the health and wellness provider for the military community.